So hello everyone. As Sir said, I think he gave the brief introduction about me. Sorry for the voice, my throat is not that good today. So in this journey, I think you have all read about the basic syllabus and all. So I don't think I'll be delving deeper into that. I think what is more important is the basics of how to gain the knowledge from the books and start applying it so that you could crack the examination. So we'll be discussing specific strategies for prelims, for mains, uh, paper wise, right? So I think one mantra you should all remember is that you should only prepare for your mains, right? You should never prepare for your prelims examination, particularly for the knowledge part. So if you are able to cover the entire keywords that are mentioned in the main syllabus, your prelims will automatically be covered, like the knowledge part is there. After reading about mains, what is the only thing that is required for your prelims is that you give 2 or 2.5 months in practicing the type of questions that are generally asked in the prelims paper. That is the only thing. So first thing first, never read about the prelim syllabus. Always go for the main syllabus. If you cover it, your prelims is already done. Second comes to practice. So as Sir said, there are specific strategies which you could follow to improve your marks in mains and also your prelims. So before that, I'll just briefly tell you about my marks that I secured. So in my 2021 attempt, that was my first attempt, I gave mains and I scored 770 number. This time around, my total was 840. Interview that time was 163 and this time it is 193. So there has been a jump in my interview score as well as in my main score. So there were certain things that I learned the first time around which I perhaps corrected in my further attempts, and that helped me to increase by 70 marks. So generally in my first attempt where I lagged was in my essay and ethics, and to a certain bit in my optional as well. So in my essay I had scored 101 that year, and it was because I had misinterpreted a topic. So going forward, what should be the strategy for your essay? Fresh slide. So essay is there. So I think for essay there are three things that you should always remember. First is your flow, second is your content, and third is your interpretation. So for essay, generally these are the three parameters on the basis of which UPSC is marking. So how to improve each of them? So for example, in my flow, what I did in my first attempt was that I used the pestle principle in both my, that is trying to take out examples and writing an example based essay, which is perhaps the single most blunder that you could be doing when it comes to philosophical essays. Instead, when it comes to philosophical essays, what I learned and implemented this time was using a question answer format in answering the essay. So like questions like who, why, when, how. So these type of questions when you ask regarding the topic, and the answers for this automatically becomes your fodder points for the essay. So you could, now the only thing that is left is rearranging these things to make it more coherent and logical in its flow. So after asking these questions about the essay, you have to generate examples again. And one thing that I did last time was that my content was pretty much similar for my first essay as well as my second essay. So you need to adopt a content rationalization method. That is, whatever content or whatever dimensions you have covered in the first essay, try to explore other dimensions than that. Now it becomes very difficult in the actual examination hall. So you should develop a template beforehand and stick to that template. Try to make separate templates for the first essay as well as the second essay so that you avoid repeating the same content. Next is the content part. So for content part, what I found was that in my first essay, or in general when I look at other people's essays, the one thing that they used to do was use cliched content. Like they would always start with Buddha ji or Gandhi ji's, and these type of examples, although they are very good, but it is repetitive. So the examiner may not award adequate marks. So try to generate some unique content. Now this unique content can be your anecdotes, poems, case studies. And the best way to get all these three is some unique websites like, if you might have heard of TED Talks. So the actual TED Talks as well as the TEDx, both are equally good. So you could always refer to them to improve your score. For poems, create a collection of 5-6 poems and try to use it in each and every essay. And regarding to case studies, whatever you prepare for your general studies paper 4, the good case studies, that could directly be utilized in your actual essay paper. For interpretation part, what I found was that sometimes it becomes very difficult to understand only in English, whatever the essay is given. So you could always read it in your mother tongue as well. And secondly, UPSC also has a knack of repeating the topics. So like in 2021, there was a topic called Hand That Rocks the Cradle Rules the World. Now this was already asked in 2005. So to avoid such things, you should also look at the previous year questions of philosophical essays. Try to get its meaning from ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, if you input it, you'll directly get a 1000 to 1500 word essay. So you'll be able to understand what the topic actually entails. Now, the second is your GS1 paper.
One thing I would like to point out for all of you here. See, the first paper Kunal talked about is essay. But the biggest irony in preparation, I think Kunal will also agree with me, is 99% of aspirants do not do anything for it till after prelims, right? So this is one thing that, see, implement these things and try to, it's not required ki you do lot of things right now, okay? But what is required is ki at least you do something before prelims, right? So this is very important to realize, see, and from this you should also learn ki you have to prioritize things in your preparation, right? Please go.
One thing again is that a lot of people this time have scored in their 90s or 80s in their essays. Now, if you are scoring 80s and somebody is scoring above 150, then you are always out of the competition. Or even if you are in it, you will be in the bottom ranks. So essay is very important. Try and practice it as much as possible because it can be a high scoring fruit as well. And if you don't practice it, you can land up in the 70s as well. Right. See, in content, touch upon like if you have discussed environment in the first essay, a topic related to that, avoid again discussing on environment. You can explore other topics like terrorism. So for example, this time around, uh, one thing that I did differently was in my first essay, if I talked about constitutional frameworks, in my second essay, I talked about governance. This is the type of difference. You are touching the same domain, but you are touching different aspects of it. So by in one essay, if you are talking about constitution part, if you repeat it again, I think that would be redundant. So talk about the governance aspect, how constitution is implemented at the grassroots level. So these type of differences I'm talking about. See, at the end of the day, you have to discuss on environment. For example, in the first essay, if you're talking from ecological point of view, from an animal's perspective, in the second essay, you can discuss the same environment theme through a human perspective. This is how you could create differences and discuss the same topic, right? So second paper is general studies paper 1. So GS1 has now become the new GS3. This time around, I think the topper has gotten only 109 marks, and most of the people have scored in their 80s or even less than that. So you need to create unique content for it as well. Generally, GS1 paper, there are 4 parts to it. First is your history. Second is your art and culture. Third is your society. And fourth is your geographical part. Geography part, right? So for history, what addition you could do? First of all, whatever is your prelims knowledge, try and apply it. As many dates as possible, historical figures as possible, timelines as possible. You could always draw that or write that in your actual examination. Plus, I found that in history, you could also talk about certain books as well. For example, Shashi Tharoor's book was there regarding the unjust rule of the British and how well they were able to exploit our resources. So there was a study from Angus Madison. He said in the 200 years of rule, British almost took away $40 trillion worth of money from our land. So you could always cite that if there is a question regarding independence and all. So such type of value addition points can provide good numbers. Plus, one thing is draw timelines. So whatever dynasty or something has been mentioned here, try to incorporate timelines to ensure that you are able to discuss the background of it. So like this time around, slave dynasty was asked. So I drew a timeline regarding the various rules that a slave dynasty had. So this basically acts as a value addition point. Apart from that, in history, try to ensure that you are specific. Don't write generic points because they are not rewarded, neither they are appreciated there. So as much specific points as you can, try to incorporate dates, historical places, battles, If it is a case of modern history, you could always cite magazines that were written during those times or groups, revolutionary activities that may help you in getting good marks. For art and culture, I think one important thing is micro diagrams. So in art and culture as well, if there is something that is asked, try and link it with your ancient history ka part. For example, if something is asked regarding, let's say, the Gupta dynasty and how well art developed during that period of time, so try and quote scholars that were during the Gupta dynasty period or some of the buildings that had been created. You could always draw a micro diagram to ensure how culture, how architecture evolved during that time, and so on and so forth. So I think again in both the historical parts, ensure that you are writing specific to the point value laden content. I think that would ensure better marks. For society, first of all is again unique examples. And the best source for this is your Hindu newspaper, Hindu and Express. So even if you had seen this time around, there were few questions that were directly repeated in GS1 paper from your Hindu newspaper. Like there was a question regarding Rabindranath Tagore and Gandhiji and its difference in education and nationalism. That was directly traced from the Hindu paper. So always try and read those things just after the mains, perhaps 1 or 1.5 months, that could directly be asked in the paper. Second of all, in society questions, use cycles. Cycle like virtuous cycles, vicious cycles. They are again value laden points, and always use a life cycle approach in generating points. Like for example, if question is asked regarding girl child, so always, or issues with woman empowerment, so always use a life cycle approach. What difficulties girls face during their infant period, adolescent period, then during their job, career time, old age. So these are things which you could be doing, and if you are generating points in such life cycle manner, it becomes more orderly. So it is easier for the examiner to check. So try and incorporate these small things. They may help you boost your numbers. For geography, there is only one thing. In each and every answer, there should be maps, pictorial diagrams. So, and try and give as many examples as possible. So if you increase the number of examples, for example, if a fjord is asked, like this time around, and if you know the name of certain fjords that are present in Norway, that would be a very good value addition point, and that would differentiate your content from the others. So that type of thing can be used in geography. But maps in general are very important, be it for your physical geography or your Indian geography part or the world geography.
So Kunal, there is one thing I want to ask you.
Sure.
So that you have told a lot of things here, like timelines, micro diagrams, unique examples, right? Now, obviously, to apply these, students would need to prepare these, right?
Sir.
So, how did you? What was your exact approach of collecting them and integrating either in your notes, and then how you were applying to your answers?
So I think if you look at the standard books, all of these things are there in one way or the other. It's your just way. See, the wisdom lies in UPSC in not generating too much content, but generating paper neutral content. So there are a lot of things that you could be preparing for one paper and they could be directly implemented in others. For example, when I say unique examples in society, if you collect them well, if you collect them smartly, you will be able to use it in GS1, GS2, GS3 as well as your 4 and in your essays as well. So try and seek out those, filter out those materials as soon as possible, because if you collect too much of the contents, you will not be able to remember it, and even if you do, you will not be able to write it in the actual examination time. So lesser the content, more consolidated and more rich it is, the better it would be. For collection, for example, history, if you read Spectrum, you will be able to get the timelines. For art and culture, the Nitin Sighania book that I referred to, or the topper answer keys that I referred to, there were several micro diagrams that were made. I just copy and pasted. For society thing, I read newspaper a lot, as well as I focused upon few other resources as well. For example, Yojana is there. Yojana, there is ample unique content. Then there is Better India Foundation website. You could always refer to that. I think these two things are more than enough, plus any value addition material from the coaching market you could always seek. The Niti Aayog's Niti at 75 report is also very good for society's value addition. And Honorable Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat. So that is also very good for getting these answers. Okay. Next paper is General Studies paper 2. So this paper I have been fortunate enough to get good marks both the times. In my first attempt I scored 120 and this time around I scored 134. So I think GS2 I know quite a lot compared to others. In this as well there are 4 subjects that you need to refer to. So these are the 4 parts where questions are generally asked in this particular paper.
One thing, like a lot of people are asking for book list. While you are covering this, you also mentioned what was your main source for that portion?
So for example, for Polity and Constitution, it was M. Lakshmikant, like everybody reads. Since my option was PSR, I need a little bit more depth. So I referred Subhash Kashyap as well. The Bare Constitution Act was also very important for me. These were 2-3 resources that I referred to. And as far as value addition in your actual examination is concerned, what I did was I did not create any differences between my PSIR and Polity and Constitution questions. So I freely used quotes, scholars, case studies. So I use them very frequently. For example, if parliamentary sovereignty was asked, I ensured that I refer to John Austin or Thomas Hobbes, who were pioneers in creating the concept of sovereignty and how it was interpreted for the British Constitution and the Indian Constitution. So these type of value addition points, particularly scholarly names, which are well known in the domain, can be utilized effectively. Second is your governance. So like I said, Better India Foundation, then there was Man Ki Baat was there. These were 2 main resources that I used apart from the basic materials which you could be getting in the market. So that was my basic resource. For governance, I think your ethics syllabus plays a very important part. So governance don't read ever independently. There is a whole section in your ethics as well. So always try to integrate them not only while studying but also while answering the questions. So for example, Sevottam model, such type of models you learn in your GS2 governance part, but you could always implement it in your general studies paper 4 part as well, right? So that would create some interlinkages and you would have to remember only certain content, right? So that was the point. Plus again, cycles and flow charts were very important. For example, if a pressure group question is asked, I would always draw a flow chart to show how pressure groups actually generate pressure in the scheme of things while policy is being designed. So that was something that I always refer to while answering the governance questions. These cycles and flowcharts, you could prepare them well in advance. I think that is a better policy. Plus, if you refer to the model answers of various coachings, they provide you that, as well as toppers answer copies, you could refer to them and seek out content which fits you the best. For example, for social issues again, so in social issues, particularly in GS2, they are not asked in the similar manner as is the case with your general studies paper 1, where they talk more about social relationships. In this, it is more political social. So political sociology approach basically summarizes this. Now there are certain keywords in this like poverty, health, education. So you could prepare a write-up, 1 or 2 pages, and how to prepare that write-up, I'll show you. For poverty, there should be a definition first, right? Then after definition, India's status. Then there should be ways to tackle poverty. International case studies should be there for value addition. And lastly, there should be a conclusion with keywords. So in conclusion, either you could use the SDG goals that are there, but I found that SDG goals now are overused. So a lot of marks are not being rewarded commensurately to what was the case earlier. Like if you conclude with SDGs, it would be considered as a novel thing, but that is not the case. So what I did to differentiate my content was start writing anecdotes or idioms. For example, if there's a poverty ka question, so I will always say ki Sarvodaya se Antyoday. So that was a keyword that should be the policy. Or the Saptarishi principles are there, that was provided in the budget. Panchpran is there, Panchamrit is there. So these type of keywords also you could be writing to apart from the SDGs to enrich your content.
So Kunal, there are 1 or 2 doubts and one is regarding note making. So the doubt is that did you make separate notes for mains or like no, only for mains?
See, regarding note making, for my PSIR, I made notes. For my general studies, what I did was I converted my test papers into notes. So I used to give a lot of tests, and each time I gave a test, I tried to incorporate all the content that I knew. I in the initial phases, I think before prelims, I never concerned myself with the time taking because I knew I had given mains once. I knew that if I wanted, I would be able to complete the paper. So my basic intention was to enrich the quality as much as possible, and that is how I wrote my test as well, in a question answer format and in a note wise format. Now I got it checked, so the evaluator must have also given certain value addition points, so I noted them down as well. Lastly, I would also look at the model answers and note down the content again, and then that would be a question answer format based notes. So if I needed to revise governance first, let's consider, then I would open the question where I had written about governance, and that would be my major source because it was already in a question answer format, so I needed less time for revision. That was my strategy regarding note making. Okay, now comes the IR part. See, international relation parts, there are generally 4 questions that are asked, and from 3 domains. First, so in IR, 3 domains are conflict regions are generally asked, international bodies is asked, and major agreements in use. Also, India's relation with major powers. So this was the 3 things that I was generally 3 or 4 domains where questions are asked. I'll tell you how to prepare each one of them. For conflict regions,
So all those would apply. But see, have an keyword here we will out.
so for conflict regions, refer to the newspaper. For your international bodies, refer to any coaching material which has discussed about this. Third is your major agreements in use, again newspapers, and monthly and current affair compilations yearly. And your India's relation with major powers. Now there are 3-4 things that you could view in newspaper as well. There are certain articles which should always refer to. First is Harshvi Pants, who write in Hindu as well as in your ORF. Then C. Raja Mohan, Express, and Swasni Heather ma'am. She gives a worldview in YouTube. Okay, so you could always be referring to them. For India's relation with major powers, you could refer to Ministry of External Affairs website, and it contains a 1 or 2 page write-up for each and every question of the international relations. So these are some of the sources that you could be referring to. Plus, whenever there is a question on IR, always remember one thing: draw a map. That would boost your score as well as help you in managing your time in a better manner.
One thing, Kunal, like lot of people make ready-made templates for introduction and conclusion. Did you prepare such things?
Yes, sir. Like I said, I prepared those things well in advance. For introduction and conclusion, I had prepared certain keywords which I would be using. For example, like I said, Sarvodaya se Antodaya for poverty. If there was a question on caste system, I had prepared Bahishkrit Bharat se Prabudh Bharat. So these are some type of things that I had prepared well in advance so that I could be using it in my conclusion. For my introduction as well, for generally in introductions, I followed a 2-step strategy. That is static plus dynamic. So if there is a keyword that has been asked in the question, always try to define the keyword in simplest manner possible so that you communicate to the examiner that you know what you're talking about, and then weave the dynamic content into it. For example, if there's a question on poverty, give the World Bank definition plus update it with the data of India. For example, multi-dimensional poverty index that Niti Aayog has recently published. You can quote that data. So you have given a static plus dynamic part. So these were the introductions that I had prepared a template well in advance. So I think we have done 3 papers. Now 2 papers and 1 essay. Third is general studies paper 3. So in general studies paper 3, this is perhaps the most challenging of all the papers, because the lower limit of the marks that one could be getting is not fixed. So people have also scored in their 50s for GS3. So it is a deal breaker for most of the people. Fortunately, in my both attempts, I was able to score 90 and 94. So I have had decent marks. Also, in this case as well, I prepared some specific view points for specific sections of the paper. So you can again divide it into economy, environment, internal security, plus disaster management, and science and technology. Right. For economy, what I suggest is every time read the budget and plus economic survey. These are non-negotiable. Always read them. Second is, you could always refer for value addition points. Apart from these two, you could draw graphs. This is very important. Particularly in case of economy, because graphs gives you the feeling. Plus collect good keywords and case studies. For example, the MSME sector, I knew this was an important theme that UPSC always asks a question about. So I had studied the Germany's Mittelstand model. So there is a model in Germany called Mittelstand, whereby they promote the MSME sector, and Germany has one of the most successful MSME sectors in the world. There is another model in South Korea called the Chaebol model. So in Chaebol model, like Samsung, you must have heard about Samsung. It's a South Korean company. So it was earlier a Chaebol. So this is how South Korean government tried to promote these companies. So these were certain things that I had read earlier only. So you should also prepare certain unique content like this. This would always help you. And you could always draw graphs and all whenever an economy question is asked. This would help you to communicate better with the examiner. For the environment part, again map making is very important. Plus again use your prelims content. Like last year, I remember there was a Kunming-Montreal protocol that was signed, 30 cross 30. This was something that one would only study for prelims, but you could always write that in your mains answer as well. So like this time around, a biodiversity question was asked related to food security. So I'd used the Kunming-Montreal protocol, 30 cross 30 should be followed in letter and spirit. You need to ensure that food security goes hand in hand with your ecological integrity. So these are certain things that I used. Apart from that, there are many keywords that have been given by Government of India, like Panchamrit principles, Panchpran is there, and so on and so forth. So try incorporating them within your answer framework. Third is internal security and disaster management. Internal security, there are 3 types of questions. First is your border management. Second is your intelligence agency. And third is your new forms of threats, or let's say emerging threats. So for border management, always draw a map. Remember all the border forces, the CAPFs that are there, which are manning which type of borders, and basic map making and the problems you need to discuss, like where all areas terrorism is there. Apart from border management, for internal security, you must be knowing certain points, like where is drug trafficking, woman trafficking, which places are there. Then there is a drug crisis is going on, drone crisis is going on, then terrorism, Naxalism, insurgency, counter marine issues, like marine piracy is also a very big issue. So you make a map and point out all these regions. So this will help you have a holistic picture regarding the paper. For disaster management, always include certain keywords like the Sendai framework is there, Hyogo framework is there, CDRI is there. So these are certain type of things, build back better initiatives that are there, the life cycle of a disaster, plus make a 1-page note of the primary disasters that could take place, like floods, earthquakes, tsunamis, what are the protocols, what does the National Disaster Management Plan of 2016 say about them, what is entailed in the National Disaster Management Act, what is the architecture of a disaster management apparatus. So these type of basic things you should be knowing, when it comes to disaster management, and always try and incorporating them within your answers. For science and tech, there are generally two types of questions asked. One is based on your concept and other is application. So concept like what is blockchain technology, what is quantum dots, LED technologies, how well it has progressed. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, chat GPT, generative pre-transformers. So these are certain things. 6G is there. So these are some important things which you should be knowing about the concepts, right? In application part, generally a scientific expedition or a recent scientific phenomena is generally discussed. For example, last 2 years, the earlier year GSWT was discussed, James Webb Telescope, while in last year it was your Chandrayaan 3. So this time around also there are chances that they might be asking some application in space sector, also in biotechnology sector also, like CRISPR-Cas9 was asked directly. So you need to understand these applications. So only these two, if you prepare well in these two domains, and in these two domains as well, one is a contemporary issue that is asked and one is a current issue that is asked. So you could very well guess what type of questions would be asked in your science and tech. Plus UPSC also has a knack of alternating. So in 1 year they will be asking from biotechnology, while in the other year they might be asking from the space sector. So you need to be very smart in handling those.
Kunal, one thing like GS paper 3 is very heavily current affair oriented, right? So how did you integrate the current affairs? Like what were your sources and how did you go about it? How did you integrate it so that you could use it in the exam?
See, GS3 out of all the papers relatively it is more current, but I do again feel that the static part holds again a much important place. In current affairs, what you could do, like this time around 2023 I'm talking about, there were two questions that were based on current affairs. First was your no money for terror conference. Now if you look at it from an angle that this was a current affair event, perhaps it would not be justifiable because it was basically terrorism which was the major issue. So my focus always was to integrate the current part into dynamic, integrate the current into static, not the other way around. So what people do is they read current affairs and based upon that they read the static content, which is absolutely wrong. You should focus on what static part is there in the syllabus. Based upon that, whatever current affairs are there, they may be your value addition points, but they are not the sole thing. Okay, so don't go after random current affairs. That is the biggest mistake that you could be doing. Always run for static part, and whatever progress has been made on the static front, they only become part of your current affairs. So if you run with this particular mindset, a lot of problems in your UPSC journey might be solved. That is one thing that I did. And for this, again, I'm reiterating, newspapers was one of the sources because I read newspaper religiously, almost every day. Apart from that, a single source of current affair compilation of any coaching would do. And you should go about the websites that I discussed. So they are again a good value addition point. Right. So the last paper we come to, that is General Studies paper 4. In General Studies paper 4 there is only two parts. First is section A and section B. Section B is just an application of section A. So always read section A first. Don't start your day one of ethics with case studies. Okay, that would be a very wrong move to take. In static part as well, section A. See, there are two parts or three parts to the syllabus. One is the keywords like attitude, aptitude, then foundational qualities of a civil servant. Then there is scholars, be it Western or Indian. And third is, after keywords, basics of governance. Right? So these are the three major sources. For each and every one, you need to be very precise. For keywords, I adopted a template. So, for example, probity is one of the keywords. Right? So there should be a definition for it. Right? Then there should be a diagram for value addition. For example, for probity, I do a diagram like honesty, rectitude, uprightness. So whenever a question on probability was asked, this was a diagram that I would always supplement. For your definition, there should be a example as well, right? Third is your unique content, like names of civil servant who have this, or some recent case studies, and ready-made conclusion. How to develop, that is again a very important thing. In all the keywords that are mentioned in ethics, always make a diagram or a template of how to develop it in your actual life. That would be a much better thing, because you are giving a solution to the examiner. Always don't point out the mistakes or the shortcomings. Always give a solution oriented approach in every paper, specifically when it comes to ethics and these type of keywords, right? For conclusion, also prepare a conclusion in ready-made manner, because if these type of questions are asked, for example, emotional intelligence, attitude, probity, so you could always have a prepared conclusion at hand, and that would save your time. For example, in probity, I prepared a anecdote that with Satyamev Jayate as our national motto, probity becomes a categorical imperative for any civil servant. So these type of things you could always be preparing before. Like in section B, keywords, scholars, I had PSIR as my optional, so I read only those notes. Try to at least go through once the scholars that are mentioned in PSIR. I think that would really help. Third is your basics of governance, that is your basic GS2 part. Just try and incorporate more examples of civil servants and some good case studies or initiatives taken by Government of India. One important source for this is the National Governance Award. So each year, the Government of India awards the district magistrates for good work. You could always refer to that, and they would act as current examples for your value enrichment. For section B, there are 6 case studies. What I did was, I knew that I won't be able to complete all 6 of them beforehand. So for 5 of them, I tried to incorporate unique content and give some extra portions to the answers. While for the 6th one, I always tried to just finish it in time. So you need to be very smart and never devote more than 1 hour 40 minutes for your general studies paper to section B part, because if you devote more time than that, then you will compromise in your section A part, which actually has more number. So it is 130. So you need to be very precise about that. In your case studies, prepare some, there are few further points that you could be asking, that you could be keeping in mind. First is, whenever you are writing examples or whenever you are answering the questions, always follow the flow that has been given in the question paper. So what many people do is rearrange it according to your need, but that is, I think, a sin. So never do that. Second of all, incorporate thinkers while you're concluding. For example, if there is a question on corruption, I would ensure that whenever I end a case study on corruption, I end it with Kautilya and Arthashastra, because he is an authoritative figure for corruption removal. So these were certain points that I kept in mind in my ethics, and practice as much as possible. One source could be initially the topper's copy. For section B part, I think this is the only source. Don't rely on any model answers or anything like that. Just stick to the topper's answer copies, and if you refer to them well, you will be able to give a good attempt for the case studies. One other thing is that the keywords that you learn in your section A part, try and incorporating them in your section B part whenever you are writing. So always try to ensure that these keywords are in some way or the other being reflected in case studies as well, because that would give you a holistic personality then, that you also have the qualities that are actually given by UPSC. भाई ये सब तो basic चीजें होनी चाहिए. So always try to incorporate them in section A as well as in section B. So this was basically it regarding the strategy for essay and the 4 general studies.
Hello everyone. Those who are online, am I audible? Am I audible? So I think Kunal has, given you a power pack summary of essay 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And almost all of them are actionable insights, right? That this is literally what you have to do. And see, the crux, if I tell it, see, now you have to be unique about your content. बिकॉज जब इनिशियली पैटर्न चेंज हुआ था 2013-14 में, तब आप बेसिक अगर सारे आंसर्स एवरेज भी लिख के आ जाओगे तो आपको सिलेक्शन हो जाता था. बट नाउ गिवन द फैक्ट कि इतने ईयर्स हो गए हैं, क्वेश्चंस इतनी बार रिपीट हो गए, लिटरली क्वेश्चंस आर रिपीटिंग, ठीक है, मेंस में क्वेश्चंस आर रिपीटिंग, राइट? सो यू हैव टू हैव अ डिफरेंशिएटर, राइट? एंड दैट्स इन एवरी पार्ट. So be very sure in your preparation For every paper, for every subject, you have a clear-cut differentiator, right? कि आपका differentiator क्या होगा इसमें, and वो सब चीजें आपको beforehand work करनी होगी, right? Now we would have a Q&A session. So जो भी doubts होंगे, those who are online or those who are offline, please ask your doubts, right? So please go ahead. Anyone here? Yes.
I think that would be a better way, because that would give a reason to your argument. The solution should be small. The ethical perspective, like for example, if you are saying there is, could you give compensation for an accident, right? This is the general case that is generally asked. Like there is an accident and there was negligence by some authority, and government was not responsible directly, but the people are asking, should you give compensation? Should the government give the compensation? So what should be your answer? Yes or no? Partial कैसे? Which institution? For example, there is a road accident, right? And should the victim be compensated by the government of India or the state government? So why? That is the, see, whatever reason you have, they may be very accurate, but UPSC doesn't care about you, right? You need to have a, see, at this point of time, the arguments that you give may be very good or very accurate, but it doesn't matter to a person who's 60 years old. Unless you are quoting some relevant ethical scholar on the basis of which you are giving your argument, then only it would be substantiated. There comes the use of ethical perspective. For example, in this case, you are taking a deontological aspect to justice. So if you mention that, your answer would be enriched rather than saying that yes, you should be doing that, right? So this is the importance of keywords that you could be using, and always try to mention scholars, the well-known ones. Like I use Rawls, Gandhiji was there, then Ambedkar ji was there, then Kautilya was there. For example, for women empowerment, you learn in PSIR about G.S. Mill. He becomes a very important scholar. You could always quote Mahabharata, like Krishnji, what he used to say. Gandhiji talisman is there. So these are certain things that you could be basing your answers on, right?
One doubt, Kunal, we have that is online and that was asked earlier. That was, how did you utilize PYQs in your preparation? Like what did you do with
See,
respect to it?
PYQs have two utilization. First is your knowledge part. I'll discuss for both the things, for prelims part as well as for mains. For prelims part, it is about knowledge as well as your exam pattern recognition. So for knowledge part, PYQs generally point towards certain important aspects which they are trying to test in you. So if you have read PYQs well enough, you will be able to know which are the important sections or themes from which in prelims the questions can be asked. So one thing that through PYQs I've understood, that for history perhaps books are very important, Buddhism and Jainism are very important. For international relation parts, again conflict regions mapping is very important. For polity part, your basic understanding of constitutional keywords, that becomes important. For economy, RBI becomes very important, the monetary policy becomes very important. So through that you could enhance your knowledge, but more importantly for the exam pattern recognition, that is also very important. So if you analyze the PYQs of prelims well enough, you will be able to gauge that there is a pattern that UPSC follows while framing the options as well. So for example, if they have given 5 statements, 90% of the times 3 statements are correct. If they have given 6 statements, 90% of the time 4 statements are correct. So if you are faced with a question that in prelims there are 5 statements and you have eliminated one, now you are confused between only 3 and only 4. So I would pick only 3, because 90% of the times UPSC has a knack for making 3 statements only correct. So this is how you could recognize the pattern through PYQ analysis, right? For mains, first of all, one big difference that I saw between mains and the questions that generally the coachings ask is regarding the length of the question. So in UPSC, the questions are very simple. but the answers need to be very elaborative. While in coaching questions, the question is very elaborative, and so you get a very little time to express your thought. So that is where you could look at the mains actual questions of the PYQs, which would help you understand what level the questions are being asked and what type of content generation you require. Because in your prelims, in your mains, the actual mains, you need to break the question into smaller parts, because there are so little fodder in the question itself that without generation you will not be able to cover the 3 pages. Whereas in case of your mains answer writing in your coaching mock tests, you see that there are a lot of subparts of the question. You don't get the time to develop the IQ for generating content. So always try and answering the PYQ mains. That would help you in this content generation. Second again is knowledge, that you will be able to know which themes are very important, and also you could be using the mains data as your fodder point for the next mains. For example, in mains, particularly in essays, whatever quotes that they used to give, I used to write them again in the next paper. For example, this time around there was a question, not all who wander are lost. So I used research is nothing but a blind date with knowledge. So this is how you could connect. So where the importance comes, and same goes for your general studies paper 4 as well. There are a lot of good idioms and keywords that UPSC tends to give. The 3 code-based questions that are generally asked. So these code-based questions can be a fodder point for your next year mains. So that is how you could use the PYQ analysis. Third, also I think the PYQs, if you are able, after initially writing the content, if you write the PYQs well enough, after multiple revisions, they could be your notes as well. So PYQs, generally all the themes have been asked once or twice, and if you could practice them again, perhaps there are a lot of chances that in the ensuing mains you will be able to actually get some direct questions. So that again becomes a very important.
Thank you, Kunal. Yes, please.
See,
Kunal, let me just repeat this question for
right,
the online audience. So the question is that what was the mindset of Kunal while attempting 2020 people, right here? 2023 people.
See, 2023 paper was a very unconventional paper, right? So from the outset, I knew that this time the difficulty is way too high. So I need to work upon my accuracy more than my number of questions to be attempted. So in general, like in 2021, I gave 89 questions, 2022 91 questions, and 2023 attempted the least, that is only 84 questions. In 89 question I got 90 number here, 103 this time, and this time I scored 124. So this time around what I felt was that my accuracy was way too high. So I think I attempted 84 and almost 69 were correct this time. So my accuracy was very high because I focused upon that. Secondly, I knew that I need to change my, I need to be very dynamic at the actual examination itself. Because had I been rigid, perhaps I wouldn't have delved into some of the easier questions. For example, there is a general mindset that history questions are very difficult. So people tend to ignore it in the actual paper. Like I'll be doing it in the last, let me concentrate on other questions, and then you don't have time. This time around, certain history questions were quite easy. They were directly asked from the spectrum. So my flexibility allowed me to actually make a decision there itself that which type of questions I need to attempt first. So that flexibility was there in my mindset this time around, which helped me actually not only in my prelims first paper, but in the CSAT paper as well. Third thing that I had my mindset in was that I prioritized my paper, how I'll do the paper. So after initially seeing that the paper was very difficult, I moved on to my polity stage because I was most comfortable with polity questions. So I tried to gain confidence from that, and fortunately I was able to answer some of the polity questions. That basically helped me to gain confidence and write or try to solve the other questions in a way better manner. So these 3 things I think was my basic mindset while answering the questions for my prelims. How? See, in the quotes based question also I had developed a template. So if there is a quote, let's say, so there are 3-4 aspects that you could be following. First is introduce the scholar who had given the quote. Just one line or two lines perhaps, just to make sure that you tell the examiner that you know who the particular person was. Second is, in paragraph format, explain the quote. Whatever the quote is, what does it mean to you? You explain it in one or two paragraphs. Then then you write what is the importance of this quote in today's world. Politically, what is important about it? Socially, economically, and finally, as a civil servant, why is this quote important? That is very important, right? Next is how to develop the quality mentioned in the quote. How will you develop this quality that is mentioned in the code? 3-4 points you could write, and finally a conclusion. Generally, what I used to do, if the scholar is known to me, I would try to end it on the scholar's term itself, like whatever philosophy or ethics he might be having. I would try to end it with that particular quote as that particular thing as well. For example, if Swami Vivekananda was there, so he preached about humanism in all its formats. So I would ensure that in my conclusion I gave a humanism touch to my answers. So I think that helps you score better marks. And this was my basic template for my quote-based question. If you know a quote about the scholar, then well and good. But I generally try to avoid it because answering a quote-based question with a quote does not serve the purpose, right? If you have one that explains, you could perhaps use it in the introduction part. For conclusion part, always try to be futuristic, optimistic, and aligned to what the scholar is saying. There are certain types of quotes in which you may not be agreeing in complete sense. So there may be some divergences from it. You could always point out the divergences, but at the conclusion part, always try to finish on the same note, as is the tone with the quote, right? And that generally happens when you use the same scholar. So I generally tried the same scholar. I think while revising, you should incorporate this. Once try to have a bird's eye view of the entire syllabus. That would help you to first filter out the important information from the not important ones. Plus, at least once your syllabus is covered, you will be ready to give the mains, right? And that is more important, the first attempt. Once you start revising, perhaps you could use this value additions. And one thing important is, see, in the first attempt, it becomes very difficult to remember all the value additions itself. If you have not written the value addition points in one of your answers, you might not be reproducing the same thing in the actual examination itself. So for me, this value addition part only comes as a cherry in the top, especially when it is the first attempt, right? But in subsequent attempts, you could go about it in concomitant manner. Like you should actually be making notes while using these value additions, but it becomes very difficult. No, I see the newspaper should only be used for 2 or 3 purposes. First is always use the newspaper for your for improving your language. Second is your comprehending skills. That is very important for CSAT now, right? And keywords. For the data and all, there are ample number of current affair compilations that you would already be subscribing to. So there is no point in duplicating your efforts. Confine the utility of newspapers to only these 3 aspects. If you find a good keyword, always write them, because keywords are the main thing that would help you pass the examination, right? See, I used to do 4, 10, 6. That means the first 4 questions of the paper I used to do in 30 minutes. Then the last 6 questions I used to do in 36 minutes. 4 questions 30 minutes, that is 7.5 minutes, because I believe that if you are able to write the first 4 questions well, you will be able to set a good tone with the examiner, that you know stuff. And perhaps if he sees that the initial 4 questions are done very well, he might gauge a level that this particular student belongs to this particular level. So his tendency of marks giving might be more lenient, right? So first 4 questions I used to devote 30 minutes, 36 minutes for the last 6 questions, because in the last part you are already in the zone, so you are actually writing the answers very fast itself. In the initial half an hour there is some form of inertia as well, so it may not be the case that you are writing at your fullest speed. So that's why I gave a little bit more amount of time in the first 4 questions, and rest is 66 minutes, so around 114 minutes are left. I used to give the 114 minutes for my this particular thing, 10 questions that are 20 markers. So this is 10 marker, these are the 15 markers, and this is again the 10 markers, right? So this was my basic time management. GS4, it was 1 hour 40 minutes for the case studies and 1 hour 20 minutes for my section. Any other question?
So I think we'll take 1 or 2 more questions, right? Because I think Kunal is also a little bit short on time, right? And after that, Saurabh sir will also be coming up and taking up discussion on our courses and how it would help you overcome basically the problems that you are facing, right? So I think one question was regarding answer writing, Kunal. From when to start answer writing? Because this is a very major thing, and starting answer writing is the biggest hurdle, right?
See, sir, answer writing, I think after 3 months of preparation, you could start your answer writing. Don't start it from the day one. No use of it, because you'll not be able to write an answer as it is. Plus, you'll not be able to develop the basic exam wisdom that is required. So it only comes after reading some parts of the syllabus. What I feel is polity and economy, if you have covered polity, economy, or one particular subject, if you have covered, you could always start your answer writing. Answer writing stages are also 3. So first stage, what I did was, I only looked at the topper answer copies. So for 1 week, I only used to see what type of answers the toppers have written, what is their mindset regarding those answers, and their intention behind it. So that was the first stage. Second stage, I would see the topper's answer copy. I would read whatever content he has written, and in the second stage, I would try to replicate that. I would read his content, I would read my content, and I would try to write an answer, not within a stipulated amount of time, but having good quality, and then I would compare it with the topper again, like what other things that I could have done. In the third stage, see the topper's answer copy, see the question from topper's answer copy, write it out yourself, and then compare it again with the topper's answer. In these 3 stages, you will be able to break your inertia and get into the answer writing.
So I think last doubt, and it's quite generic, and everybody faces this in their preparation. See, at any point of time, Kunal, every aspirant faces some kind of, an anxiety, and they get overwhelmed, right? So did you face something similar in your preparation, and how did you overcome it or manage it, or how did you ensure कि वो आपकी preparation को affect ना करे?
See, I think the most anxiety or pressure I felt was after my second attempt. So in my first attempt, I was fortunate enough to reach the interview stage, and the result came on Monday. I think it was June 1st, June or 30th May 2022, and the prelims that year was on June 4th. So I had only 4 or 5 days to recuperate myself, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to clear that examination. So in 1 week, I knew that I had failed my previous attempt as well as this attempt. So there was a big vacuum then created my preparation, because even if I had give the examination again, it would still take me 2 years to become an IAS officer. So that huge vacuum that was created was something that I didn't feel very good personally saying, and there was some 1 week or 2 weeks where I did not talk to anybody or interacted much with the outside world. And but yes, after that I knew that this examination is something that I wanted to crack no matter what happens. So I enrolled myself in various test series, and those test series actually helped me to make myself disciplined enough uh, to go about the preparation, because if you don't have that discipline over a long period of time, you'll not be able to sustain yourself no matter what your motivation is. So discipline is very key, and these test series actually helped me. So my life was reduced to getting good marks in those test series. So I didn't think about UPSC. I only thought about getting how good marks in whatever test series I was writing, and my only intention was to be in the top 10. So that thing actually drove me. I think self-competition drove me for the next perhaps 1 year.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you.
Thank
And I
you,
think
sir.
this is one very important thing, right? Ki you should know, basically, see, all these things that Kunal told, you will only be able to apply if you are in right state of mind, right? So it is very important. See, be very well aware that you are going to face some challenges, like Kunal said. So it is a very big setback. In 1 week, you know, previous you have failed, next you have failed, right? So that's a quite a big setback. Okay. Now, Kunal, one doubt from this.
After practicing well enough, uh, after seeing the question, a template would be ready in your mind. So you don't have to think. The muscle memory build हो जाएगा वो. ये intro होगा, ये conclusion होगा, ये यहाँ पे ये लिखना है, यहाँ पे ये लिखना है. You just have to arrange it, and that is the level of preparation that you need to achieve. वो तो होता रहेगा यार, लेकिन वही अगर आप प्रैक्टिस बहुत बार कर लोगे तो ये सब प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं है. इनिशियली आती हैं, दैट मीन्स दैट यू लैक प्रैक्टिस. इफ यू प्रैक्टिस वेल इनफ, बिकॉज सी मोस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस आर अ रिपीट टेलीकास्ट, देयर इज नथिंग न्यू. So if you have practiced it once or twice, you will be knowing what to write and what not to write. Okay. तो टेम्पलेट मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, एक बार आपने बहुत बार आंसर राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस कर लिया तो यू कुड बी इमेजिनिंग द सोल्यूशन इन द एयर. ऐसा हो जाता है. दैट इज द स्टेज दैट यू हैव टू रीच.
So now Saurabh sir would be taking over and he would be discussing about our courses as well as some of your doubts that are left out. Okay, the online भी कुछ doubts हैं, so he would be taking up.
Thank you. You have been your audience. Thank you. You have been a lovely audience, and I hope you all the wishes that you will be able to clear this examination. Right? Thank you.
If you want to interact with Kunal, you can go outside also, and you can ask your doubts one to one. फिर से पूछना है? Yes, you can go outside. You can discuss. So speak to Siddharth sir once, and वो आपको connect करवा देंगे. Okay? If you want to ask doubts, you can go outside. मुझे पता है काफ़ी सारे doubts होंगे ना, तो you can directly ask. Okay? Yes, everyone. तो जो भी अभी डिस्कशन हुआ है उससे दिस इज वेरी क्लियर दैट इफ यू वांट टू क्लियर दिस एग्जामिनेशन यू नीड स्पेसिफिक अप्रोच एंड स्पेसिफिक प्रिपरेशन. ओके, बिकॉज जैसा कुणाल ने बताया कि यू नीड सम वैल्यू एडेड कंटेंट. ओके, अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट प्रैक्टिस, रिवीजन, नोट्स मेकिंग, ये सब भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. एंड टू हेल्प यू इन दिस, PreppIAS has launched foundation course program. Okay, and this program is useful for those who are preparing for 2025 examination. Okay, and let me tell you, batch will start on 3rd of June 2024, and this program will be covering your prelims stage, your mains stage and interview stage of your preparation. Okay, तो एकदम ब्रीफ में मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि व्हाट आर द यूनिक फीचर्स ऑफ आवर फाउंडेशन कोर्स. ओके, तो फर्स्ट वन, The first important feature in our foundation course, classes are live classes 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. and what is the benefit of live classes? You can directly interact with your faculty, okay, and what we are ensuring, your prelims syllabus completion by February 2025. This is very very important, okay. तो by February आपका पूरा syllabus prelims का हम लोग cover करेंगे and most of your main syllabus will be prepared by April 2025. So before prelims you will be mains ready. So live classes are there, syllabus आपका time पे complete हो रहा है, okay. Apart from that you will have access to our NCERT course, okay. देखो NCERTs are very important for your preparation. अगर आप खुद से करेंगे it will take much time, but if you refer this course, काफ़ी सिस्टमेटिकली हमने इस कोर्स को डिज़ाइन किया है एंड काफ़ी कम टाइम में जितने भी आपके कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं आप प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो, ओके. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट देयर विल बी रेगुलर आंसर राइटिंग एंड ऐसे राइटिंग सेशंस. एंड अभी जो डिस्कशन हुआ उसका क्रक्स यही है कि ऐसे राइटिंग इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, आंसर राइटिंग उसमें कंटेंट किस तरह से लेके आना है, किस तरह से स्ट्रक्चर बिल्ड करना है, किस तरह से कोटेशंस उनको इंटरप्रेट करना है, ओके, उनको यूज करना है इन योर आंसर राइटिंग. सो ऑल दोज थिंग्स विल बी डिस्कस्ड इन दीज रेगुलर आंसर राइटिंग एंड ऐसे राइटिंग सेशंस, ओके. एक चीज और क्लियर है कि इंफॉर्मेशन इज वन पार्ट, बट उसके साथ साथ यू हैव टू चेक कि आपकी तैयारी किस तरह से है, ओके. तो इसके लिए यू हैव टू अटेम्प्ट प्रीलिम्स टेस्ट सीरीज एंड दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ दिस संकल्प फाउंडेशन कोर्स, ओके. इसके साथ साथ देयर विल बी डेडिकेटेड डाउट रिजोल्यूशन सेशंस, ओके. देखो अगर मैं समराइज करूं, संकल्प इज अवर बेसिक फाउंडेशन कोर्स एंड दिस कोर्स कवर्स all the 4 stages of this examination, that is your foundation phase, prelims phase, mains phase and your interview phase, okay. So this is the first variant. इसके बाद संचार प्रोग्राम इज देयर एंड समाधान प्रोग्राम इज देयर, ओके. तो काफी ब्रीफली मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, ओके. कंटेंट आपको मिलेगा एंड रिकॉर्डिंग्स आपके पास रहेंगे टिल मंथ ऑफ May 2026, ओके. सो दिस इज अबाउट आवर संकल्प फाउंडेशन कोर्स, ओके, संकल्प फाउंडेशन कोर्स. इसके साथ साथ वंस यू कंप्लीट योर फाउंडेशन फेज, उसके बाद देयर विल बी प्रीलिम्स फेज, ओके. देखो प्रीलिम्स में क्या चाहिए, आपके पास कंसाइज नोट्स होने चाहिए एंड आपके पास रिकॉर्डिंग्स होनी चाहिए. कोई भी डाउट है आप रिवाइज कर लीजिए, रिकॉर्डिंग्स देख लीजिए. तो यहाँ पे क्विक रिवीजन एंड प्रैक्टिस हम लोग इंश्योर करेंगे इन दिस प्रीलिम्स फेज. इसके बाद होगा मेंस फेज, ओके. एंड मेंस फेज में हमारा फोकस होगा ऐसे एथिक्स को लेके, डेडिकेटेड मॉड्यूल्स होंगे, आंसर राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस हम लोग करवाने वाले हैं. तो दैट इज योर मेंस फेज. एंड सबसे लास्ट में इट इज द इंटरव्यू फेज, ओके. तो सपोज आप मेंस क्वालिफाई करते हैं तो देयर विल बी फुल सपोर्ट फॉर योर इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन. डेफ सपोर्ट आपको मिलेगा, एनालिसिस, फैकल्टी सेशंस होंगे एंड मॉक इंटरव्यूज होंगे. तो दिस इज आवर संकल्प फाउंडेशन कोर्स, ओके. इसके बाद जो सेकेंड हमारा वेरिएंट है इट इज संचार, ओके. तो इन संचार संकल्प के सारे फीचर्स आपको मिलेंगे, ओके. एंड उसके साथ साथ यू विल ऑल्सो गेट 1-to-1 पर्सनलाइज मेंटरशिप बाय इंटरव्यू अपीयर्ड मेंटर्स. देखो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज प्रिपरेशन आप कर रहे हैं बट आपकी प्रिपरेशन क्या राइट डायरेक्शन में है क्या. तो इसको इंश्योर करने के लिए देयर विल बी इंटरव्यू अपीयर्ड मेंटर्स जिन्होंने खुद ने प्रीलिम्स और मेंस काफी बार क्लियर किया हुआ है, ओके. तो यहाँ पे देयर विल बी डेडिकेटेड मेंटरशिप सेशन एवरी 10 to 12 डेज जहाँ पे स्पेसिफिक टारगेट्स आपको मिलेंगे, ओके. एंड उन टारगेट्स को आप अचीव कर पा रहे हो या नहीं कर पा रहे हो, ठीक है, तो उसको वो लोग इवेल्युएट भी करेंगे. सो दिस इज आवर संचार प्रोग्राम, ओके. इसके बाद जो थर्ड वेरिएंट है, द थर्ड वेरिएंट इज समाधान प्रोग्राम, ओके. तो इन समाधान ऑल द फीचर्स ऑफ संकल्प एंड संचार दे आर अवेलेबल. तो एडिशनल फीचर क्या मिलेगा आपको, मेंटर गाइडेड मेंस टेस्ट सीरीज, अगेन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. देखो आंसर राइटिंग सभी लोग करते हैं बट आपकी स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, आपकी वीकनेस क्या है, सो देयर शुड बी प्रॉपर एनालिसिस. सो इन द समाधान प्रोग्राम interview appeared mentors, they will be analyzing your answer sheets एंड अकॉर्डिंगली वो आपको फीडबैक प्रोवाइड करेंगे. ओके, तो अगर मैं समराइज करूं, फाउंडेशन कोर्स देर आर 3 वेरिएंट्स. वन इज संकल्प, वन इज संचार एंड वन इज समाधान. तो संकल्प फाउंडेशन कोर्स है, दिस इज अवर बेसिक फाउंडेशन कोर्स एंड दिस इज कवरिंग all the 4 different stages of this examination: foundation phase, prelims phase, mains phase and interview phase. Okay, and this program will ensure कि you are ready for this examination. अब एक सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न आता है कि सर गाइडेंस कहाँ से मिलेगा. ओके, जो हम प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हैं, देयर शुड बी समवन जो हमारी हेल्प करे टू इंश्योर कि वी आर इन द राइट डायरेक्शन. तो इसके लिए देयर इज अनदर कोर्स एंड उसका नाम है एलिवेट प्रोग्राम. तो दिस इज आवर 1-to-1 पर्सनलाइज्ड मेंटरशिप प्रोग्राम एंड इसके फीचर्स एक्सप्लेन करेंगे सनातन सर. सर प्लीज.
Is it audible? Hello? Is it audible? Yeah. So, hi everyone. So, as Saurabh sir told, we need guidance in our preparation, and for that only we have this Elevate program. Now we all know that PreppIAS mein mentorship, it's very well accepted. We provide interview appeared mentors for your guidance. But now we have upgraded the program, the mentorship program, into this name. This is the program structure. Now what will happen here? There are a lot of features included there, but the core feature, the core aspect is the interview appeared mentors that will be there with you throughout your journey. Okay, so the course features I will be explaining briefly. See, this part is very important. The mentorship is based on requirement and the phase of your preparation. So, like we had a discussion with Kunal also, he was saying ki requirement of every student is different, but the ultimate objective is to be mains ready. The name itself is mains. So, we have to focus more here. Okay? So, the ultimate objective will be this, but to ensure this we have to cover a lot of other things like syllabus coverage, like approach for prelims, like integrating multiple mock tests and having a proper accountability every 10 to 12 days. So that is what is written here. Every 10 to 12 days you will be having a session with your mentor where you can discuss in detail that what is your current progress and everything. But this is, this is just the start, and after some time, once you are into the groove of preparation, then what? Then you can sit with your mentors and have one-to-one post-test analysis. Since the mentor also knows your strengths and weaknesses, it becomes very relevant. So after the revision thing is going on and syllabus coverage is going on, we have to integrate tests there. And फिर हमें उसमें हमारी approach जाननी है, हमारी mistakes समझनी है, ठीक है? So this is what is written here. Now, one very important thing is there in this program, that is the assimilation of all the best possible sources. What is this? This means, suppose you have a set of existing resources with you, maybe a test series of any other institute, or you have a old test series also where you can get it evaluated, or if you have any classes. So all these things you can tell your mentor. It can be for prelims also, mains also, any other thing. The mentor will align everything in your preparation so that if you have something, you can utilize it properly. This is a very important aspect. And the tests that we are providing here. So this program also has the prelims test series, mains test series, and current affairs classes and CSAT also. So all these things will be aligned by the mentor in your schedule. So this is a very important aspect. Fine. So once this is done, slowly you will have confidence to write good answers. And ultimately हमें लिखने हैं 20 आंसर्स 3 घंटे में और डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन के अकॉर्डिंग. तो वो हम लिखेंगे और वो कैसे करना है ये हम समझें. आई थिंक आज का इतना अच्छा डिस्कशन कुणाल ने ऑलरेडी ले लिया है उस पर. आई विल नॉट गो देयर, बट येस द अल्टीमेट ऑब्जेक्टिव इज दैट ओनली. ठीक है. So this is the program. I have told you very briefly. There are a lot of other things. A number of things are there. So, like I told you already, access मिलेगा आपको current affairs program के लिए, सेट की classes and content के लिए. ये हम एक वीक में 2 या 3 हम टॉपिक वाइज हैंडआउट्स प्रोवाइड करते हैं. ये काफ़ी स्पेसिफिक होते हैं. यू कैन यूटिलाइज दिस. प्रीलिम्स की टेस्ट सीरीज रहेगी एंड टेस्ट एनालिसिस जैसा मैंने आपको बताया. And the mains Mavericks test series module, now it has 60 tests. Why 60 tests? इसमें हम इंश्योर करते हैं कि फाउंडेशन से लेके 20 क्वेश्चंस तक आप लिख पाओ, एडवांस टेस्ट्स, क्योंकि 5 क्वेश्चन के भी टेस्ट हैं. एक स्टार्ट करने के लिए आंसर राइटिंग, दिस इज गुड. के बाद हमें अल्टीमेटली तो FLT पे फोकस करना है. तो यही आपको कराया भी जाएगा. एंड दिस कस्टमाइज्ड कंटेंट विल बी प्रोवाइडेड टू यू. अब अगर आपको कोई कंटेंट रिक्वायरमेंट है तो आप अपने मेंटर को बता भी सकते हैं, तो वो आपको एक बेस्ट सोर्स या इनफैक्ट अगर वो हमारे पास भी अवेलेबल है तो वो प्रोवाइड करेंगे. ठीक है. एंड लेटर स्टेजेस में हम प्रीलिम्स के कुछ रिवीजन मॉड्यूल्स निकालते हैं, वो भी हम अपने मेंटरशिप के स्टूडेंट्स को भी प्रोवाइड. दैट इज देयर. एंड academic doubt resolution and everything will be there. And if you clear the mains examination, the mentor will be there with you till your interview. तो दिस इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट, क्योंकि अगर एक जर्नी आपकी रहती है किसी एक पर्टिकुलर मेंटर के साथ और योर फ्रेंड ऑल्सो अगर आपके साथ है पूरी जर्नी में, तो वो आपके यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन को समझते हैं और वहाँ पे जो उनके इनपुट्स होते हैं वो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प कर सकते हैं. तो आई थिंक दिस इज अ वन ऑफ अ काइंड प्रोग्राम. तो दिस इज दैट, दिस इज इट. So how to join our courses? The website is there, the contact number is there, and the mail IDs are given. You can simply reach out to us or write in the comment section also. We'll be getting back to you. Okay. So these are the courses that we were discussing. If you have any other doubts, you can write in the comment also, and otherwise I think we can conclude. Okay. Are there any doubts? Yeah, all the details will be provided to you. You just share, you just write the requirement on the comment section, it will be provided to you.